Long ago, deep in the green heart of Central Africa, there was a village named Nduma, a village that, though it lacked the glittering gold of kings or the vast herds of cattle that many other places prided themselves on, possessed something far more valuable: peace. Nduma was rich in peace, in song, in laughter, and in stories. The people of Nduma would gather under the twinkling stars, their faces lit by the soft glow of the fire, while the elders, wise and ancient, told tales of their ancestors and the spirits that roamed the earth. The children, full of laughter and unbridled joy, would dance under the rhythmic beats of the drums, their feet moving in time with the pulse of the earth itself, creating a harmony that echoed through the night air. The elders, with their deep voices, would speak of times when the world was young, of gods and goddesses who walked amongst the people, of animals that could speak and change form, and of the great warriors who had protected their lands with honor and bravery. Their voices carried wisdom and love, telling tales of both hardship and hope. It was a place where the past and the present coexisted, and where the bond between the people and the land was unbreakable. But one season, something began to stir in the heart of Nduma, something that was not a whisper of the past, nor the hum of the present. It was something far darker, a shadow that began to creep over the village. The shadow did not come from the heavens, where the clouds gathered to bring rain, nor did it come from the ground, where the plants reached toward the sun. It came from the north, from Mount Kamgoma, the great mountain that loomed like a silent sentinel at the edge of the village, its jagged peaks piercing the sky. For generations, the people of Nduma had revered this mountain, but it had always been a quiet and still presence in their lives. The mountain stood like a sleeping god, watching over them from afar. It was a part of their lives, yet it seemed distant, as though untouched by time. The villagers had learned to live with the mountain's presence, its peaks wrapped in mist, its slopes thick with ancient trees, untouched by the hands of men. But now, something was different. It started with the hunters, the bravest of Nduma's men, who ventured deep into the forest to hunt the great beasts that roamed the land. They had been gone for many days, but when they returned, their eyes were wide with fear, their mouths tight with unspoken words. Something had happened out there, something they could not understand, something that could not be explained by the usual stories of spirits or unseen forces. They spoke of a creature, a beast so large and powerful that it defied belief. It was not a creature of the earth, nor one that belonged to the spirits, it was something else, something that walked on two legs and was as tall as two men stacked on top of each other. Its back shimmered with golden fur, glowing like the sun at dawn, and its eyes burned with the color of fire. They said its roar was like a great storm, shaking the very trees and sending birds scattering in all directions. Its strength was beyond anything they had ever seen, and its gaze could freeze the very hearts of the animals that lived in the forest. The villagers listened in disbelief at first. It was just another tale, another story spun by the hunters to explain the things they could not understand. Stories they had before heard such of great spirits and powerful animals, but they had never taken them seriously. It was just the way things were in Nduma, stories passed down through the generations. But then, things began to change. The goats, the prized livestock of the village, began to disappear, one by one. The villagers searched the forest, but they found no sign of the animals. The yam fields, which had always been bountiful, were discovered trampled and torn, the plants crushed under the weight of something enormous. The crops, the very lifeblood of Nduma's people, had been destroyed. Still, the villagers remained hopeful, believing that it was just a passing storm, that the creatures of the forest were simply following their natural course. They had no reason to believe that there was something more at work. But when Adu, the blacksmith's son, went missing, that hope began to fade. Adu was a strong young man, known for his skill with the hammer and anvil, for his ability to shape the hardest metal into works of art. He was the pride of the village, his strength admired by all. But one day, he did not return from the forest. His family searched for him throughout the night, calling his name, but there was no answer. His slingshot, the one he carried with him to hunt, was found near the edge of the forest, broken in two as if it had been snapped by a giant hand. No one knew what had happened to Adu, but the silence that followed was deafening. The laughter of the children, the songs of the elders, all of it stopped. Fear began to seep into the hearts of the villagers. As the days passed, the fear grew. Mothers kept their children close, and the night watch became more frequent. The men of the village would stand at the edges of Nduma, staring out into the dark forest, waiting for something to happen. They had no idea what they were waiting for, but they knew something was coming. The chief, Old Kunto, who had seen many seasons pass, called for a gathering beneath the great Irako tree, the heart of the village. All the people of Nduma came, from the farmers and the hunters to the weavers and the drummers. The elders, wise and seasoned by age, took their places around the fire, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames, who had lived through countless seasons and had seen the rise and fall of many generations, spoke first. His voice, though old, carried a strength that could not be ignored. He leaned on his carved staff, his eyes filled with the wisdom of the ancients, and looked out over the gathered villagers. "We have no weapons strong enough, no spears sharp enough, no guns loud enough to face this beast," he said, his voice steady and calm, but with an edge of urgency. "But we have something far stronger, each other. The strength of our unity. The power of our hearts, which beat as one. This is our greatest weapon. Let the strong among us step forward. We shall face this beast together, as one." One by one, the men of Nduma stepped forward. They were not warriors, not men of battle, but men who had worked the land, fished the rivers, and built the village with their own hands. They were farmers, with calloused hands and hearts full of courage. They were fishermen, whose nets had always brought them food from the rivers. They were young men, full of fire and determination. They had no weapons but their courage, no armor but their unity. They were the sons of the soil, and they were ready to protect what was theirs. Before they set out on their journey, the river priestess, a woman whose wisdom was as deep as the river itself, marked each man with white clay and red oil. She spoke words of strength and unity, her voice carrying the weight of the earth's power. "You go not as one, but as 100, she said, her eyes filled with the energy of the spirits. "Let your hearts beat as one drum, and you shall find the strength to face what lies ahead." And so, the journey began.